Hello, today we're going to be learning about cyanotype toning. So if you're not keen on the blue of cyanotypes, what you can do is use plant matter to tone the cyanotypes into a different colour. We're going to be using rosemary. We are also going to be using soda crystals which bleach the cyanotype. Tannins found in plant matter chemically bind with the iron emulsion in the cyanotype. Each tannin found in plants will create a different effect. I've used rosemary, blackberry leaves, valerian, coffee, red wine and green tea. Each of these will give a different colour. We are now going to tone some cyanotypes using soda crystals and rosemary. We are now going to put the rosemary into the hot water. We will leave the rosemary in the hot water for 20 to 30 minutes. I am now going to put the cyanotype into a soda crystals and water solution. I'll leave the cyanotype in the soda crystals for about 5 to 10 seconds. It's very important to wash the cyanotype to make sure all of the soda crystals come off. I'm now going to put the cyanotype into the rosemary solution for about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm now going to wash the cyanotype and wash it for up to 5 minutes. I'll then hang up the cyanotype to dry. There are health and safety considerations. So one thing is to bear in mind the ventilation. Some tannins can produce gases that can irritate your lungs, so just make sure if you're working outside or if you're working in a dark room with good ventilation. It's not so important if you're using food-based tannins such as rosemary or green tea, but if you're working with things like oat galls or acorn caps, it's really important to just make sure that you're doing that in a well-ventilated area. Another thing to bear in mind is just to make sure that you're not using the same trays and jugs as you would use for food, so just make sure you have separate equipment for the cyanotype toning. And the last thing to bear in mind is just to follow the forager's code, so make sure to work with plants that you've identified very well and also don't take more than you need. Cyanotypes are a very environmentally friendly process, so if you're using cyanotypes you won't affect the water systems in a negative way. Also, when you're using plant toners, because you're working with natural materials, often these are very sustainable as well. So the whole process can be done without negatively affecting the environment. At the moment, I'm doing an Arts Council England project called Acquaintance, which is supported by Developing Your Creative Practice. This project is focused on the Peak District, which is near where I'm from, and I'm looking at the landscape through the lens of being a photographer, but also looking at the different plants that are around in the landscape. So I'm using the plants that are in the landscape to tone my cyanotypes and try and explore different ways of making images. I'll also be doing large format photography and experimenting more with plant-based developers using plants that I've found in the local area. The images that I'm using were taken in a place called Hadfield and also in a place called Dovestones, and I'm using plants that I saw in that area. If you want to find out more about cyanotypes and their environmental impact, you can read Cyanotypes by Mike Ware, which is a free PDF, and I'll link to the PDF below. There's an amazing book called Botanicals Cyanotypes by Annette, Golaz, which is a really good resource for toning cyanotypes and gives you lots of ideas. However, there are lots of plants that have not yet been tried. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to find out more, I have some free tutorials on my Patreon page, which I'll link to below.